Okay, you guys. So I'm going to come back and tell the rest essentially of what has happened up until this date from my last video. So, small recap: diagnosed with molar pregnancy, had to get a DNC 4 days later. HCG over 300,000. So, I'm pregnant essentially with no baby. Molar pregnancies are exceptionally rare, and I mean, it is what it is. So, had the first DNC, essentially not a lot of complications. Well, on June the 7th, I began to bleed, and it was like a ridiculous amount. I didn't really understand what was going on. I just, I didn't know what was going on. And so I was hitting my doctor up. I'm on the video. I was hitting my doctor up every day, like trying to just get some assistance because I could not stop the bleeding. I couldn't control the bleeding. I couldn't keep up with the bleeding. I was bleeding through everything I owned. I guess the best way I can explain how heavy it was is, at least for the females, think about a heavy overnight pad and a super plus plus tampon. I was bleeding through those in 20 minutes. So for 12 days, essentially 10 to 12 days, I stayed at home and virtually almost bled to death. My doctor acted like I was just trying to get extra time off work, like she was just speculating. So instead of bringing me in, she just kept speculating what she felt like was happening. To no avail, I ended up going to a different hospital, and upon getting evaluated on the OBGYN floor, I was informed that I needed another DNC. Basically, and this is just how aggressive molar pregnancies are, and I'll try to explain that at a later date. But essentially, the molar pregnancy had grew back in a month's time to where my uterus was measuring 16 weeks. When I got my first DNC, I was literally only 10 weeks pregnant. So just think about how much growth that had to be to actually make me look 5 months pregnant almost. And so I had to get another DNC, but prior to that DNC, I had to get a blood transfusion because I had lost a substantial amount of blood at home. And just to try to raise my hemoglobin, I was given a blood transfusion, did the surgery, given another blood transfusion, and then upon being released from the hospital, I was scheduled for an iron infusion. And in between that, obviously being told that I have to start chemotherapy to keep this from growing back and from happening again. I was basically told that I was hemorrhaging at home, which was not a term I was super familiar with. So at this point, today is day one of my chemotherapy. I have to do chemotherapy every single day of the week. So 5 days a week, every other week, until my HCG reaches 0, which could take anywhere between 4 to 6 months. Today was day one. Day one was rough. I do not like needles. And the nurse, God bless her soul, she was very kind. But for the life of me, she couldn't stick any damn vein, I'm sure. And so 3 sticks and a blown vein. And then she called a coworker in who was able to get me. So you see this baggy thing I have on my arm. I have it because I ain't going. So we did the type of IV that I could leave in for 3 days. So, each day, at least of the first 3 days that I go, they're able to utilize hopefully the same IV. And then I only have to get stuck again for the last 2 days. It will be my plan to do this for the next 4 to 6 months because 5 days a week, getting stuck every day is just not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. My veins already feel sore from me when I was in the hospital, and just the different blood draws they need, I'm woe out. So I am going to be documenting my chemo journey. I like to think that I was one of the rare cases because I have seen at least on, hold on baby, I have seen at least on YouTube people who have, had a molar pregnancy and then been told they needed chemo. I've never heard of anybody who had a molar, had a DNC, had a molar grow fully back and beyond, had another DNC, and actually right now it's growing back. But what they're hoping is that chemo will shrink it and stop it, because I'm right now at the baseline of hemorrhaging. It's just been a road. I don't feel like people understand. I don't feel like people even know what a molar pregnancy is. So I think, when you're telling people you're going through this journey, they're like, oh, you had a miscarriage. Like, it's just not the same thing. If I learn how to do it, I will post a picture of what is actually in your uterus. With a molar pregnancy, it just looks gross. But regardless, I will keep you guys posted. So yes, I am switching up from the denture talk to primarily molar pregnancy stuff. I am still available. If anyone new is getting extractions, or you guys have any questions or anything, you know how to contact me on Facebook, Racina Russell. I can be reached by email. I can be reached by Instagram. I don't know what my name is on Instagram. That's terrible. Or you can contact me on here. I'm pretty good about getting back to people. But yeah, so it's going to switch up a little bit, but I will still be available if you need to speak about something else. So that's kind of where things are at. Any questions, comments, concerns, just comment. And I don't really push the whole like and shares, but you are more than welcome to. I really feel like, because molar pregnancies are so rare, that I need to do this, because like when I researched and I could barely find what I needed from a personal perspective, I would love to be that person that can put out there this crazy journey that I've been on, so that people can save themselves from hemorrhaging. They can recognize signs and potentially get themselves help sooner, so they don't have to go through this aggressive chemo. So at any rate, like I said, just comment, reach out if need be. But that's where we're at. You guys have a blessed day.